Okay, hello. Let's just check in and touch base a little bit. I'm not really sure how and why these assignments are open already, but they are, and I'm not going to change them, so please feel free to work on them. I'm assuming it has something to do with the fact that some of these were open for 2 weeks or whatever. Anyway, you have quite a bit open right now, including the argument planning 1. Argument planning 2 is also already open, but just please note it's not due till the 6th, next Saturday, so you have some time. This video is in regards to the fact that you should be well into planning and working on your paper. And I wanted to point out that the draft is actually open. I don't expect any submissions for some time, but I did want to have it open for you so that you can look at the instructions and that you can also look at all the linked assignments here. The thing I'm going to cover in this particular video is this PowerPoint and just kind of walk through it with you. So this just explains the assignment itself, okay? Just to help you better understand the argument paper. Just so you know, we end Comp 1 with argument and then spend all of Comp 2 dealing with argument, especially if you're in my class. Our textbook is literally called Practical Argument in Comp 2. So understand that that's what you're going to be working on for the rest of your time in composition. And also please understand that when we're talking about argument, we're not talking about a fight or anything heated. We're just talking about presenting your ideas and opinions and supporting those with evidence, and you do that every day whether you realize it or not. So the purpose is to argue a point, to write an argument persuasion paper, and this is a topic of your choosing, and you are writing to a general and educated audience. So now that you are finishing or have finished the annotated bibliography, you understand a little better the research requirement of this assignment. You must use 3 sources, but you may use as many as necessary over the 3. And you will want to have print copies of your articles, and that way you can read them several times and you can mark them up, annotate them, and figure out what you want to use in your own paper. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later in the presentation. For this paper, we will stick with our MLA formatting, and your paper needs to be 4 full pages in length. Just remember, this is not any kind of report. You're not just reporting information. You are using evidence to support a specific argument. So I've given you a couple of slides just talking about planning. I actually cut these down, but as you're planning out your paper, just try to think of it from every angle possible. Think about its history, think about its current context, think about what you already know, but more importantly, consider what you don't know yet, and be curious and set out to learn something from your research. By no means should you have all the answers going in. That it wouldn't be a research-based argument at the end. So just look at it from every angle and do a lot of digging to figure out what it is you should focus in on. Think back to your original research question. Your thesis and ultimately your entire essay is the answer to that original question. Okay, so think about structure. Structure is very important. And I would suggest that you look at all available sample papers to really get a good handle on structure. As a matter of fact, after this video, you will also have a video where I walk through a paper and point out structural items, so please pay attention to that. Structure is important because you want your paper to be as clear as possible. You want your overall argument to make sense to the reader. So you will start an introduction with an introduction paragraph that sets the context for the topic, and you will end your introduction paragraph with a thesis statement. Yes, in some cases, classes, some papers, the thesis statement may appear in other parts of the paper, but not in this class. In this class, I want you to end your introduction paragraph with a thesis statement. Okay, each body paragraph will represent some sort of support. You may have a paragraph that explains necessary background information about your topic. You may have a paragraph that covers needed definitions. Then you should have several paragraphs that explain your various points that support your argument. Sometimes it is necessary to carry one point across 2 paragraphs. Keep in mind that paragraphs should be around half a page in length. So if any become longer than that, you'll need to figure out how to sensibly separate them. All body paragraphs should have clear topic sentences that show what the paragraph is about. These topic sentences should be in your own words and not quoted material. Quoted and or cited material should make up the middle of the paragraph. So think about the PIE formula, PIE, point, information, explanation. Any cited or quoted material is considered information. So PIE, point, information, explanation. Also, please show transition in your topic sentences when at all possible, like using words like another and finally, that sort of thing. Because this is an academic argument, you need to spend some time addressing the counter argument. This part of your paper may appear wherever it best fits. Be sure to acknowledge the opposition, but then to refute it in some way using the evidence you have gathered. The final paragraph is the conclusion paragraph. Here you are wrapping up your argument and offering your audience something to think about. Don't simply restate what you've already said. And the last page, well, let me say this first. You should properly document and cite all sources used within your paper. When you use signal phrases or put your author or article names in parentheses, those are called in-text citations. And so that's section MLA 4A that explains all in-text in-text citations. And then at the end of the paper, the very last page, you will have your works cited, which is just the works cited, the MLA works cited entries, and that is MLA 4B that explains how to cite any type of source. So think seriously about your process. As we have discovered in this class already, that writing is a process. You are not going to get this wonderful finished product, right away, and you're going to have to take some time and work through the stages of writing. So first, we have pre-writing. Map out your argument, visualize how your points and your evidence connect to the big picture, and also consider your thesis. What point are you arguing, and what is your opinion on this matter? That's the thesis, and so that, all of your points should support that particular opinion or argument. You will determine your supporting points from your ideas and from the research. You need at least 3 points. That's the traditional 1-3-1 essay. However, that's going to be a little bit short of the page requirement. So you need at least 3, but you may take as many as it takes to support your argument. And once you have your ideas for support determined, see how they can best be organized. Play around with outlines. The order in which your support is presented must make sense, and it must do a really good job of convincing the reader of the merit of your argument. Okay, with notes in hand, get the first draft written. Remember that first drafts are often quite crummy. I'll use that word. That's okay. You need to start somewhere. We have also learned this semester that revision is constantly taking place as we write. So as you write, see where and how you can make modifications as you go. As you continue to write, revise, revisit the thesis. It may take several revisions before you settle on your final version, and that's okay. But be sure to maintain the requirements of topic and opinion. And here are just some examples of how you may rephrase your thesis statement. You don't have to do this little formula. It's just an example of one. Before submitting or publishing your final version, you will go back to your paper and revise as necessary. You need to make sure that the information makes sense and is the most effective in the way it is presented. You need to make sure that paragraphs are focused and do not contain extra information. Make sure that all the sentences within a paragraph have to do with the idea of that paragraph. You will also need to proofread and edit for basic mechanical issues. Ask yourself, do your subjects and verbs agree? What about your pronouns and antecedents? Have you punctuated properly? Have you provided all your necessary citation information? And have you maintained third-person point of view throughout? Okay, remember, you are not building your paper around your sources, but around the argument you're making. A helpful tip is to pay attention to possible support points as you do the research. You will likely see the same ideas appear in multiple sources. When you've determined the points you plan on making in your paper, reread all of your research And as you come across any of your points, highlight or code them in some way. I cannot stress this help enough. This has helped me personally in years of research and writing. So I recommend this method. That way, when you get ready to incorporate your sources into your paper, you'll be able to quickly see the information. So here's an example. Say that you have decided the second point of your paper about lowering the legal drinking age is that people can join the military at the age of 18. So every time you read about military age in your research, you would highlight it, let's say in green, or you would like mark the number 2 out in the margin. And so when it's time to collect your research and write your paper, you know that your second point, you're looking for this military information, you're going to be able to quickly see the color green or the number 2. And you can pull it and incorporate it into your paper. Another tip, you will need around 8 full paragraphs because this is a 4-page paper. Paragraphs can include various types of information, and it is possible that you would need to separate out one supporting point into 2 paragraphs. Plan accordingly. Okay, just go in thinking, I need 8 paragraphs, and see what you can come up with on that end. Finally, don't get freaked out by this being a research-based argument. It is still just an essay. Essays must include an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Please don't make this more difficult than it really is. Okay, I hope this helps a little bit with the understanding of the argument paper. Make sure you look at all samples to help you do the best you can. Thanks.